Good morning, Midland, Texas. Buddy Webb. Today I'm going to do a little video based on a Facebook post I did this morning called Landman Suspects. That's what I named it. And it's just what we know for a fact is, triple proof shows I wasn't shot from my gun. What we don't know is who came to my home with the gun and shot me. But there's a lot of clues that this can be investigated. So I'm just going to jump right in here and go over the what I wrote here, which is important. On January 14, 2012, which was exactly 2 weeks before the premeditated capital murder attempt on my life, where would-be killers loaded their guns and came sneaking into my home, I stopped a home invasion by putting electricity on my bedroom doorknob. I later checked the obituary notices and saw where a young landman attorney named Matt Hyman had died on the same day. He was only 33 years old, but I didn't know how he died or exactly what time of the day, so there was no way of knowing if he had died in my house or not. I would expect to see oilfield landmen at oil show parties, and it would make sense they would be connected with the sex trafficking, sex slavery known to go on in the oil field for decades. It's very possible that it was Landman that murdered that young girl who refused to prostitute at the 2010 oil show party. I asked the question on Facebook if Matt Hammond had died in my home, and his sister-in-law, who was my nurse at the time, provided me some information about his death. I asked her how he died, knowing that if he died in a plane crash or something else, then it wasn't him. But she told me that he had a surprise heart failure. Electricity stops the heart. I then asked her what time of the day he died, knowing that if he died in the morning, it wasn't him. I was trying to eliminate him. But he just happened to die at the exact same time as when I had put electricity in on my bedroom doorknob. Okay. Two of his friends, who are also landman, and that's oilfield landman here, and this is oilfield here, Brian Hillman and Chris Mertz, didn't like me asking questions and then threatened me on Facebook. Brian Hillman went on to marry the widow of Matt Hyman, who was the only supposed witness to his surprise heart failure, and Chris Mertz was a landman or right-of-way agent for my company, DCP Midstream. Interestingly, I had provided the name of another contract landman or right-of-way agent that worked for my company to law enforcement because I believe that she was at the 2010 oil show party where I was told the young girl was murdered for refusing to prostitute. I believe she's a witness. I overheard her ask my friend what time she got home from the party, and that was during the week of the 2010 oil show party at work. And her answer was at 3 a.m. And I tell that in the story about the young girl being murdered. Before I moved into this home here at 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, a guy named Ken Slager, commercial director for my company, lived directly across the street at 3803 Fair Circle. Our landman or right-of-way agents reported to this group, and his group was in charge of the company booth at the Permian Basin International Oil Show. I won't be surprised to find out that he knows about this underground facility being used for sex slavery and the murder of young girls who refused to prostitute. Okay, and remember, I've got multiple people saying that underground facilities near my home, and then 2 weeks after I reported suspected tunnel to DA, I'm ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. And so I actually believe them oil show parties were going on in the underground facility near my home. On another day, I was walking my dog at Essex Park. It's near my home, and I met another landman who lived in the neighborhood. His name was Justin Bartlett. He was originally from Lubbock, New Deal area. I told him my story had been ambushed and shot after reporting a suspected tunnel to DEA, and he was going to come by my home and see the crime scene, but he never showed up. One day I posted a story about the late Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, who is now known was the second secret police to arrive at my home following Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, and he, who is Justin Bartlett, seemed to get upset as if he didn't want me asking if Naylor was involved. Okay. On another day, I posted a statement giving God all the praise and glory because the shot threaded the needle to miss the major artery in vein. And I see him, Justin, post this rude message as if somebody had insulted his shooting skills. This made me wonder if he had shot me. And then there was another landman that I spoke to on the phone one night who begged me to move from my home, which is one of the first signs of somebody who knows about the many crimes going on here. I won't state his name. And I can't count the people who have asked, suggested, ordered me to move from my home, sell my home and move at the price they want, of course. And of course the answer is arresting the criminals came to my home and shot me. The answer is not running and moving and hiding for life. Anyway, interestingly, George Bush was a landman in Midland, Texas. That's President George Bush, before he became president, but it's hard to imagine that he would know anything about an underground facility with sex parties going on. He hasn't lived here a long time, although I was told that the sister of one of his Secret Service agents lives across the street. I got the idea to post about Landman after seeing where another Landman named Kenneth Noah had ha-ha'd one of my Facebook posts yesterday. I wonder where he was at on January 28th, or if he had ever been to an old show party. Okay. Another Landman story is Keith Turman. I started getting emails from his email account while he's in jail, and I later turned that into a video called Dr. Stalker. And that's on my YouTube channel. It's real interesting. I secretly recorded a phone call with him, and he said something about a 13-year-old famous murdered child, Hailey Dunn, being at the 2010 old show party. And then he hung up like he had said too much. This wouldn't surprise me, as Hailey's mom was a stripper in the area at the time, and it makes sense that she was there. Okay, that Hailey and the mom. One person told me that she was taking Hailey to the strip club with her, so it makes sense she took her to the old show parties too. Okay, and so and I'm sitting there, and here was my Facebook post on 1/14/12. I put electricity in my doorknob, stop a home invasion, and a young attorney Landman dies of surprise heart failure. Okay, on 1/28/12, somebody sneaks in my home, cuts my phone lines, and shoots me. Premeditated, capital attempted murder. Okay, and so the question is asked if it's Matt Hyman that died on the exact same time of surprise heart failure, grabbed my doorknob and he died. And then his friends, who they couldn't report that because, they were in the commission of a felony breaking into my home, were mad, wanted revenge, and they're the ones that tried to kill me. So anyway, here's the comments. I later checked the obituary notices and saw where a young Landman attorney named Matt Hyman died on the same day. He was 33, and I didn't know at what time he died or exactly time of day. So I didn't know if he died in my house. He was a former landman for Choate Company and then an attorney for Cotton Bledsoe Ty and Dawson. That is the law firm for the city of Midland. Okay, and so there's a picture of Matt, and and I don't know if he died in my house. I'm just saying I'm looking for somebody that died on the same day that would be a suspect that maybe did, and he was a landman, died at the same time, and you're going to see why I would suspect him. Two of his friends threatened me, etc. Okay, and then you can see where he worked for Choate, and then he was an attorney in the Oldfield division for Cotton Bledsoe Ty, which is the city of Midland's law firm. Okay. Interestingly, I remember my attorney, when I was talking to her, she made this comment. She says, "There's not a lawyer in this town that's going to help you." And I thought, why wouldn't a lawyer in town help me? I have all this evidence. I'm the crime victim, and so maybe it's because an attorney got killed here. Moving on. I asked the question on Facebook about Hyman had died in my home, and his sister-in-law, who was my nurse at the time, provided me some information about his death. I asked her how he knowed, or how he died, knowing that if he died in a plane crash, whatever, and basically I copy and pasted what I wrote before. And so here is what Natalie Sherry Hyman told me, and he says he died from a genetic heart defect that no one knew he had. Okay, so it was surprise heart failure. Okay, and I said, was he messing with electricity that day? Because electricity stops heart. Oh no, he wasn't. Okay, do you remember the time of day? Okay, I'm trying to eliminate him as a suspect. Oh no, it was at night. So he dies at the same time of the day of surprise heart failure, and he's a landman. Okay, and then two of his friends are a landman, Brian Hillman and Chris Mertz, threatened me, and you're barking up the wrong tree. I suggest you take this down immediately, okay? And then he sent me a private message. I'm going to show you here in a minute. And here's a friend reading what the writing's going on. They always threaten you like this, And here's Chris Mertz that worked for my company, and he's he's making insinuations he's gonna beat me up or something like that, and calling me crazy, which secret police for 6 years is crazy. Proof that somebody shot me under my home, crazy. But it's clear that I'm not crazy, and anybody calling me crazy makes them a suspect, And so I think law enforcement ought to be asking Chris Mertz and Brian Hillman what they know about an underground facility and where they were at. Brian Hillman contacts me on private message, and he's the one that tells me that he married the widow, okay? And it seems like somebody wrote me and said that there was an affair going on, but I don't know that to be true, And that's probably just rumors, but somebody did write me and tell me that. And so Leslie Reed Hyman was her name, and she was the only supposed witness of Matt Hyman dying, and so I'm being nice, and this guy's rude as can be. I'm not interested in your rhetoric bullshit. I'm interested in you, taking this down. I don't want you asking questions about who tried to murder you, I don't care about any little girls are murdered at old show parties. I want this down, or whatever, right? And so I asked him, where are you at? Oh, he can't remember. Well, ain't that convenient? Okay, and then here's a Zachary Stultz. This was just a guy comes back and you know, and he gets into the conspiracy theories about Bush and the history going back 150 years and all that, and you know, which has nothing to do with the underground facility. But what I did post on here was that it was interesting that George Bush was a landman in Midland, Texas, you know, and so that's one of the famous landman in Midland, Texas, and that was really my only point there was about George Bush, because he wasn't living here when this happened, you know, and so there's nothing to say he knows about $1 million underground facility in his hometown, you know, while he was president of the United States, you know. Interestingly, I had provided the name of another contract landman or right-of-way agent that worked for my company to law enforcement because I believe that she was at the 2010 oil show party, okay? And what I posted here was, okay, this is posted on December 13th, 2014. Story I wrote called Rape and Murders about the young girl murdered at the oil show party, okay? And I wrote this story. And so 2 days after I posted this, Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson murdered his wife. Well, and here's the picture. I posted this picture of the secret police in my house wearing a Midland K-9 police jacket. Well, we didn't know it at that time that this guy was Chad Simpson. This is the guy that murdered his wife, okay? And so it was 2 days after I posted the story about the young girl murdered at the oil show party, this guy murders his wife, you know? And so then the question is, well, what's this guy know about the oil show parties, right? Doesn't that make sense? Can't y'all see the connection? Okay, before I moved in this home, Ken Slager, a commercial director from my company, lived directly across the street at 3803 Fair Circle. Our landman or right-of-way agents for my company reported this group. That means old Chris Mertz reported to that group. And his group was in charge of the company booth at the Permian Basin Oil Show. I won't be surprised to find out that he knows about the underground facility being used for sex slavery and the murder of young girls who refused to prostitute. Okay, MidCAD shows you who owns where. That's how I built this deed history map. It shows he sold this on July 20, 2006 and then transferred town, and I got here in 2008. Okay, so you go to MidCAD and you can pull up all this data, and that's what I did. And basically, here's my home, and I pulled it. You know, here it shows me the owner, and before that, Mike Lawhon, and he died 2 weeks before I died. Brandy Merrill, you know, sold the home to Mike Lawhon, and for that they bought it. Morris Kurt, the original builder, was Randy Offenberger. Okay, and then you go down and see the line, and Brandy Merrill owned the house across the street over here because she married Daniel Price when I first moved in. And interesting, that home used to be owned by John Legendre, which was a brother-in-law of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. Okay, and of course that has nothing to do with what this story, because this story is about 3803 Fair Circle. Marilyn DeLucci, she's the person that told me Mike Lawhon died in my house 2 different times and said somebody else died there before, but she bought this company from the relocation company, and Ken Slager, who worked for my company, was the commercial director, and our landman reported to his group, and his group took care of the booth at the oil shows, which is interesting because, you know, I've got the woman on the phone recorded saying there's four 3-bedroom homes underground, 25-foot deep, cost $1 million. It's believed that's where these parties, these oil show parties, were going on. And so there's a little bit more history. This home's kind of interesting too here in Nick Todoro, because I believe that maybe John Gray, he's a famous oil man, might have owned that home too. And y'all can go look at this other information later because I don't want to get sidetracked. Okay. One day I posted a story about the late Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, who we now know was the second secret police drive at my home, according to Empire Private Investigations, following Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, which is a whole different county. First guy that showed up was a sheriff from a whole different county. Nobody's ever explained that. And Justin Bartmut, the landman, seemed to get upset as if he didn't want me asking if Naylor was involved. Private Investigations named them in May of 2018. Remember, they were secret for 6 years. This is a big deal. I mean, you know, this is reminiscent of Nazi Germany. I used to say the first known secret police since Nazi Germany. You know, I got out of the hospital surviving a murder attempt. I found pictures of police, and they didn't have no names because when I ordered the police report, there was no police report showing their names. You know, it was only just a couple months ago we found out there was a police report that had been falsified, and now we know why they hid the thing for 6 years, and that was even after it was subpoenaed. And these were the names of the secret police that were identified: Rosa Rodriguez, April Chandler, Okay, Tony Dickey, and Tony Dickey on the police report showed he was in my house before the cameras are disabled. It's suspected that he come from the underground entrance where I shot from. Greg Chatwell, Greg Nelson, Marty Barrett. He's a CSI. Just think how many cases a CSI has worked on. Chad Simpson goes on to murder his wife. Mike Naylor, second one to show up. He's also dead. Mark Gilliam, we don't even know who he is. Glick, we don't know who he is. And John Woodward, the sheriff from a different county. It's a big deal, folks. This is a big deal. On another day, I posted a statement giving God all the praise and glory because the shot threaded the needle to barely miss an artery in a vein. And I see Justin post this message if somebody had insulted his shooting skills. It's made me wonder if he had shot me. It was just weird. Turns out I don't know how to fire a weapon, huh? Who knew after all my years growing up as a rich kid on a ranch out in Lubbock, and been shooting all my life, Well, I wonder who insulted his shooting skills because I had just posted that the shot barely missed an artery in a vein, And this is Landman Justin Bartlett that lived in my neighborhood. And I'm not saying he shot me. He was here. I'm just going, where were you at? I want to know. I'm asking questions. I have the right to ask questions. We know somebody come to my house and tried to murder me. Okay, this is just interesting, and there's no connection here. It says, yet another famous landman and millionaire from Midland is David Arrington, who owns the most expensive home here in Midland. I've never found any evidence saying that he has a connection to the underground facility, though, and so there's no reason to suspect him, I mean, only law enforcement would do that, and this was straight from the Texas Monthly, and it basically says how he was a landman here, and he hit his first well, and now he's almost a billionaire. Okay, I got the idea to post about Landman after seeing where another Landman named Kenneth Noah had ha-ha'd one of my Facebook posts yesterday. All this whole post today is because of this guy right here. He ha-ha'd, we had 26 mutual friends. He's not on my friends list, but when I went and go, who's this guy ha-ha'ing my stuff? Oh, he's a Landman. Ah, interesting. I wonder why this Landman is ha-ha'ing my stuff. He thinks this is funny. Murder's funny. Murdering little girls is funny. The video tells us the story of what happened the night that I was shot during a home invasion by putting electricity in my doorknob, and how it looks like that's connected with the death of Matt Hyman. It makes sense that his friends would be angry and wants revenge when they failed to kill me on this night, which might also be the motive of murder 2 weeks later. It's clear that this was premeditated, as nobody accidentally breaks into a private home and accidentally shoots a homeowner. Triple proof shows I wasn't shot with my gun. That means somebody came from my home and shot me. And not only did they shoot me, they shot me from 2 inches above ground level 2 weeks after I reported a suspected tunnel to DA. So here's a video on YouTube you go check out. It's really interesting. It talks about me putting electricity on that doorknob, and I believe that saved my life. I call this the first murder attempt, and that was 2 weeks. Because see, I was tear gassing my attic at the time, and I was a problem for these criminals that are rigging homes, breaking into houses. Okay, and so and here's one last story here. Another landman story is Keith Turman. I started getting emails from his email account while he's in jail, and I later turned that into a video called Dr. Stalker. You ought to check that out. It's on my YouTube. I secretly recorded a phone call with him, and he said something about 13-year-old famous missing murdered child Hailey Dunn being at the 2010 oil show party, then mysteriously hung up like he had said too much. This wouldn't surprise me, as Hailey's mom was a stripper in the area at the time, and it makes sense that she was there. One person told me that she was taking Hailey to the strip club with her, so it makes sense she took her to the oil show party too. Okay, and so here is I secretly recorded that phone call, and you can hear him mention Hailey Dunn at the 2010 oil show, and I said no, it wasn't Hailey, it was another girl they murdered, and then he said too much and he hung up, and that was weird. And so I posted that, and then right after that, this is interesting because it really led into this. I get a private message from a friend saying that Clint Dunn posted that Dr. Phil show had contacted him, and so the connection here, there was a connection with the landman and Hailey Dunn in the underground facility, and so I think I'll just run over this real quick. Interesting, I had many people or suspects suggest that I contact Dr. Phil after I shot, and it was the point that I started to suspect Dr. Phil had some connection to the crimes there. I was going to try to discredit me. It was just so bizarre. All these suspects are going, contact Dr. Phil, contact Dr. Phil, contact Dr. Phil. Like, well, what's a TV psychiatrist going to do, with secret police and faked x-rays, I wonder if Dr. Phil would try to cover the evidence. And then I talk about the Keith man, Land Thurman, which I just mentioned, And then I go on, one person told me Hailey Dunn, or told me that Billy Dunn was taking 13-year-old Hailey to the strip club with her, so it makes sense that she would take her to the oil show parties too. It makes sense that she was ordered to go to the oil show party just like my friend was. This party was about 2 months before she was reported missing, and it's the one where I was told another young girl was murdered for refusing prostitute. You see how it comes together? I'd like to see Dr. Phil ask Clint and Billy, who was his mom, what they know about the underground facility and the sex parties. Any real investigation should also include the recorded phone calls and screenshots of the half dozen people documented saying that Hailey was killed and or buried in Odessa. Let's don't forget the evidence showing that I wrote the Department of Justice and suggested they look at the underground facility for clues to Hailey 2 days before her remains were found in Scurry County. Many people believe that she was dug up and moved as a result of my email and to them so the underground facility wouldn't be exposed. None of these new witnesses placed Billy there when Hailey died, but I have the feeling that Billy's being threatened or blackmailed, so she can't say anything. What this case lacks is law enforcement. And so Clint, and he's a friend of mine. I mean, this is, he's on my Facebook friends list, and actually we had a phone call. I got a recorded phone call with him, which he was okay with me recording, and he said he believes that Sonia Renee Callahan, and she's the one that was the eyewitness to Hailey dying, and I've got all that posted before. But you can see what Clint said, about and he wants to do polygraphs and get Billy on the show and all that stuff. Okay, and so I just followed it up, and I talk about the stalker who stole the password of the email for Landman Keith Thurman, and which that was already, I've already gone over that. It makes sense that Hailey was at the infamous 2010 oil show because several people confirmed that her mother was a stripper in the area. One person said she was taken to the strip club. And these are print screens that I took. This person, Janice, a driver, that says, I heard Billy from a reliable source Hailey was going with her, but taking her to the dressing room while Billy Dunn worked the pole, the stripper pole. Okay. And then this person was, I think her name's Stacy. She was admin for Hope for Hailey or something like that. And she's a friend of Billy's, and she was actually, taken up for it. Well, that was her third job, but she was confirming that she was a stripper in the area. And that's a fact never been in the news, I mean, don't you think that's kind of important that, maybe that would be important when the daughter's missing, that the mom was a stripper in the area? I think so. The evidence shows that 2 days after I wrote the Department of Justice suggests they look at the underground facility where Hailey Dunn remains were found in Scurry County. Now more than a half dozen people are documented saying that she was killed and buried in Odessa. Okay, many people believe that she was, dug up and moved as a result of this email. And so I sent it to the Department of Justice, askdoj.gov there on 3/14/13, and she was found on 3/16/13. Now there's a picture of Hailey, okay? And and here's some of the things I wrote to them. I have overwhelming evidence to support the allegations of the underground facility. Multiple people are documented saying here, I have proof somebody under my home shot me, I even wrote, maybe she's being held by the sex slavers under my home right now, Hailey Dunn. Right, 2 days later, they get this email, boom, she's magically found in Scurry County. But now a half dozen people are saying that she was killed and buried over in Odessa. Here's another video. I recently contacted the Scurry County DA office, and that's the investigator over. That's one you ought to watch. Packed with evidence. A lot of it you're going to see here. Okay, the first person to contact me about Hailey Dunn was drug rehab counselor Christy Otts, who said that a guy named Brett Bushman confessed to her. She said, and I quote, the guy said that she was traded by her mother for a drug balance of $135 worth of meth. While she was in the care of the dealer, she flipped out, and they shot her up with something. She overdosed and died. The guy who confessed to me said she took her back to her mother, and they stuffed her in a box. He described the way they had to bend her and break her to fit. Then they buried her on a ranch outside Odessa. Okay, this is a screenshot. Christy Otts was using a fake name on Facebook, Allison Mack, but she had also contacted me on YouTube under a real name. Okay, and there's the timestamp. Okay, and she said it was a guy named Brett Bushman that confessed her. And she also sent me 2 or 3 emails between her and her boss, because she was a counselor, right? And in them emails, which I posted, and not here, but she's reminding her supervisor that the guy confessed to 3 separate homicides, including burying a child in a safe on a ranch. Okay, so let's compare what Christie said to what News West 9 reported that Sonia Renee Callahan said in 2012. And Sonia Renee Callahan wrote a letter from Odessa jail claiming she saw a young girl match Hailey's description. Later, she claims that the girl was held against her will and drugged in an Odessa home. She wrote that the girl eventually died of an overdose and was dumped behind the Ector County Coliseum. Sonia Callahan's older sister said told her the alleged incident was all sparked from a dope deal that went horribly wrong, and Hailey was supposedly used as collateral for a drug debt from the teen's family. Was that $135 meth dope deal? Don't y'all see how that's the same story? You can go Google that story from News West 9, okay? And then I made a video called Hailey Dunn Murder Confession, and next thing I know, Sonia Renee Callahan calls me, okay? I secretly recorded this call. That's this video, Child Killers, and she describes the moment to me over the phone when Hailey dies. Y'all listen to this, you know? This is the woman here, up here, that said that Hailey died at a home over in Odessa for a drug deal. Same thing that Christy Ott said Barrett Bushman says. Another woman, okay, Taryn Thomas, writes on my Facebook wall and saying that the mom, stepdad all knew that Hailey was on drugs, right here, okay? And said lots of people knew they were on drugs, okay? And here, they had her for a good while and was interested, and they shaved her head. And 10 people, they shaved her head like 2 weeks before she supposedly died. Now, supposedly she buried in that same house, backyard, in Odessa, okay? And what Taryn Thomas didn't know, that this private investigator named Brenda Paradise had already told me that the remains had found with no hair. Well, that confirms the story about shaving the head. Now, that doesn't seem like something somebody'd make up either. You know, shaving her head, I think Taryn Thomas knows something, okay? Brandy Dunn contacts me on Facebook, says the murder of Hailey Dunn is connected with the unsolved murder of Cody Mercer. She said they were filmed, okay? And I'm like, they're filmed? Yeah. And the cops have the film. This is incredible. I got the print screen of her telling me that. And then I'm mentioning it to Jessica Lee Hadley, and she's the one that says, yes, it's disgusting, you know. That yes, that's correct. The videotape, the whole thing, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely true. So here's the confirmation that Brandy knew what she's talking about. That these two murders are filmed, and that the cops had the films. Okay, and what kind of, don't you think that ought to make the Dr. Phil show? Okay, next. Okay, and one of the most interesting testimonies from a recorded phone call was a Hailey Dunn blogger, and this sounds like the tell-all. She describes who took Hailey, where they took her, what they did, and with her after they took her. It's packed with minute details that nobody can make up. I'd highly suggest, listen, this is on my Facebook too. This was a Blog Talk Radio conversation that I recorded, and then which was later deleted. Thankfully, I recorded it, then I posted it on my YouTube. Listen to that phone call. It tells names of who, where. They kidnapped Hailey in a alley in Colorado City. You know, that's what this says. It gives you names and everything on that. Okay, and then here just last August, and I didn't name this person because they were worried for their life, but she actually says where Hailey was buried. You know, she was buried between two buildings going out to Gardendale. I sent this to law enforcement. Of course, I send law enforcement the name of the people that tell me this, but I got a feeling law enforcement, is not doing anything. It looks like they're covering up the murder of Hailey Dunn because of the underground facility. That's what it looks like to me. This is Buddy Webb. Talk to you later. Bye.